This is the Lutheran Education Podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we explore issues, trends, and events surrounding Christian education with your hosts, Richard Schumacher, Senior Director of Operations at LSEM, and Dr. Tracy Salgado, Director of Special Education at LSEM.
Welcome to the Lutheran Education Podcast. I'm Dr. Tracy Salgado, Director of Special Education with LSEM. And today on the podcast, we are joined by one of LSEM's very own teachers, Ronda Spalding. And Ronda is going to talk to us about dyslexia. Good morning, Ronda. How are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful.
Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
I'm excited.
Good. I am too, because dyslexia has become such a huge topic of conversation in the world of education in general. There's a lot of states passing laws about screeners and trying to get these kids help. The whole SLD thing is focused on, in reading, is focused on dyslexia now. So tell us why dyslexia is important to you, why it's close to your heart.
Well, it's important to me because I am dyslexic. I was diagnosed in the second grade in 1979. So before there was a lot of knowledge about it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and I heard a lot of you can't. And I now realize that it was a lot of I cans, and I want to do that same thing for my students.
So 79, gosh, I can't even do that math. That was a long, long time ago. What was going through the process to get diagnosed? What was that like back in 79?
My mom, who would tell you she barely graduated from high school, took on the school and said, something's wrong with my child. And she really pushed them. And finally, I think maybe to shut her up, they tested me. And then they actually did apologize to my mom because she was 100% right.
So what was the testing? What kind of, do you remember? I mean, how old were you at that?
I don't have a lot of memory. I mean, I was only 9, so I don't have a lot of memory about what the test entailed. My mom has showed me the paperwork. It's similar to now, just, I mean, there are some differences. The big thing they looked at then was your IQ versus where you could function. And where my IQ was quite high, I was only functioning at a lot lower IQ. And that's why they called it a learning disability. And it was specifically in reading and spelling. So that's why they diagnosed me with dyslexia. It's much different now in the sense that they look more at specific areas of strengths and weaknesses than it was a lot of IQ.
So do you remember what struggles you were having since you were 9? So that was 4th grade?
Oh, that I actually remember clearly because it's a lot of the same struggles I have today. Spelling was huge, and I still struggle with spelling. I have to use accommodations in order to spell like a normal human being. I never had a problem with reading. As a matter of fact, they kind of struggled with whether to diagnose me with dyslexia or not because I could read fairly well. But for me, it was the spelling and writing piece that was really the biggest struggle. And I'm finding that with a lot of my dyslexic kids now. Writing and spelling seems to be more challenging to them than writing or than reading.
Was it the decoding piece? Okay, let's go back. Before I ask that question, tell the listeners, tell us what is dyslexia, and you said some pieces about how you get diagnosed, but what do they specifically look for, and what are the pieces that are put together to equal dyslexia?
So it's different diagnosing in a psychiatrist's office versus the school setting, which doesn't diagnose you with dyslexia, but with reading disability.
Yeah, and specific learning disability in reading, right? SLD in reading. Okay.
So in schools, they look at reading and spelling, which I did ask the psychologist for the Utica schools where I work through. And they said, yeah, they do look at the spelling piece as well. And that's kind of how they kind of get there. But they do look, I mean, schools, it's a lot of reading. If you go to a psychiatrist's office, which I have several students that's how they got diagnosed. Then they look at many more pieces, and then they dive more into what kind of dyslexia there is. My specific kind tends to, I believe there's 9 different types of dyslexia.
I think so. I think I've read that. Yeah.
And mine is more leans towards spelling and writing, grammar. That kind of stuff is really hard for me. But decoding words and reading, I mean, I was behind, but it wasn't my biggest struggle. And now my reading is just like anybody else's. I mean, I have no trouble reading, comprehending,
Okay.
Which helped me get through college. But
Yeah.
along with because I had a diagnosis, even in college, I was able to get accommodations.
Yeah. Which is something we can talk about a little bit later, but that's important for kids that are in that high school age range and thinking about post-secondary education. So what you're saying is in a school, a psychoeducational evaluation done by like a licensed school psychologist or a professional who's trained and authorized to give those sorts of assessments. That's a different assessment than what a child would get. Why
Oh,
would
very
you
much.
go to a psychiatrist versus like a professional a psychoeducational private evaluation? Why a psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist just happens to be what it winds up being kind of the you know what? You're right. It's a psychologist.
Oh, well, either way, but I would.
Yeah, but as far as there are, like, we have one here close to our school that specifically is an educational psychologist.
Okay.
But many of my students just go to a psychologist, and they are
Okay.
able to give them the test that will determine
Mm.
if they have dyslexia, and if so, what kinds they have. And they can have more than one kind. I have
Yeah.
several students that have more than one type of dyslexia.
Yeah.
Me, I seem to have more like one.
Yeah.
But
So the psychoeducational evaluation done by the school psych or something would be just a general, you have a learning disability in reading, and then it's
correct.
up to, let's say, like someone like you, the resource teacher, to figure out which part of reading. They could do the subtest though and kind of help narrow it down, but it sounds like it's not as thorough as like a
Not
private
nearly as thorough.
evaluation.
Not no, not even close. And that's why a lot of my students that I suspect are dyslexic, I will encourage them, if they can, to have an outside evaluation to get that more specific, to narrow it down more, to help us really
Okay.
see of
Yeah.
those 9 types where they fall and how we can use that. But I I think that the bottom line is, when you're dealing with a school situation, they tend to do, I mean, I'm sorry to say, the bare minimum. They do what they have to do to cross the T's and dot the I's,
Yeah.
on a whole, is what I found. Where if you go to a professional, they have more time. They can dive in. They can make sure that they've, tested everything. The average psychologist from the school's evaluation papers might be 3 pages. I've gotten
Right.
psychiatrist and psychologist papers that are like 20 pages or more. So it's much more in depth. It looks at so many different factors. And as a special ed teacher, it really does help me know, okay, it's a less trial and error, because I
Yeah.
kind of have a better starting place. It just gives more information.
So let's back up to the 9 types for a second, just so people who are listening can kind of get a better idea. So I think it's so like you said, spelling, because that was one for you. And then there's decoding, right? And then
Yeah,
there's fluency.
correct.
Word recognition is that one as well. So that's
I'm
5.
not sure. Let me look up real quick, because that I'm not entirely 100% positive.
Rapid naming.
Of all the pages I have laying here to remind me of what we were different things, I did
Yeah.
not have that one.
Well, I was just thinking if we could name them together, if we could work
Yes,
through
I
it, because
agree.
I do know there are several types, and I think people listening would be like, well, what types are those? What are they? What should we be looking for? I know it's decoding, because that's a huge part of dyslexia is children, they struggle with segmenting words
I've
into
got it.
either. Okay, go ahead. What?
Phonological, which is the decoding.
Hmm.
Surface, which I'm gonna have to look what that is. Double deficit. That's kind of where you have
Yeah,
Two,
like it's two of them.
yeah. Rapid naming,
Yep.
visual, which some dyslexic people actually don't see it correctly.
Right. They flip it or they see
Yeah.
a Z
And then
instead of a
deep
T.
dyslexia,
Yeah.
which is the most challenging, I guess you would say. So
Okay.
phonological is the decoding.
Yeah.
Surface is trouble recognizing familiar words. So they might struggle with sight words.
Yep.
Rapid naming is difficult. Quickly, they have trouble quickly naming an object. So if you give them several objects, they have to stop and think before
Right.
they name it. I'm
Yep.
not so sure I don't have that one, but I've never been
I
officially
wonder if
diagnosed.
processing is a part of that one as well.
Yeah. Visual dyslexia is difficulty like on the page, looking at the page. And
Right.
deep dyslexia is semantics, substituting words, and trouble sounding out words. So it's kind of three of them put together.
Yeah. Yeah. They're also similar, but at the same time, the intervention is very specific to
Very much so. Yes.
that diagnosis and which one it is. So I can see why it's better to have the outside evaluation where you have the guesswork already done for you. In a
Correct.
school evaluation, sure, they can do the subtests and you
Mhm.
can get to the bottom of it, but at the same time, it's not as specific as what those are. Subtests
Correct.
include decoding, they include processing, but they don't include some of the other things. So,
No,
yeah.
no. I usually sit down and I will go through the test and I can kind of figure it out where to start. But it's always so much easier when you have all the information in front of you. And when it
Yeah.
comes to someone's learning, it's like, if at all possible, I say get the best testing you can do.
Yeah. That's hard though. I mean, because it's expensive to do
It is
breath
expensive. If the
testing.
insurance doesn't cover it, it's expensive.
Yeah. Not
So
all do.
that's where we just do that's where I start doing the trial and error. And,
Yeah.
I've never not been able to figure out a student, especially with dyslexia, maybe because I'm dyslexic,
Yeah.
kind of how they learn. But,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. You're using
it's
your own
doable.
experience, yeah, to
Yeah,
help them
it's
out based
doable.
on what you know. Yeah. So when you were having trouble spelling, can you tell us what that was like for you
Mhm,
as a young student and wanting to do well in school?
mhm.
How what struggle did you have? Was it putting it together? Was it pulling it apart to make the word? Which aspect, which
So,
end were you
yeah,
struggling
for
with?
me, it was just spelling in general. Any part, pulling it apart, putting it
Oh,
together, any of it. I struggled with it all. To me, spelling made no sense. It literally looked like a foreign language to me when I tried to spell. And because I don't think teachers were as knowledgeable then, instead of going, okay, well, here's different ways you can try, it was, well, you just need to do this. I mean, it
yeah.
was very not as supported to begin with.
Hmm.
And I even got some pushback and negative from teachers, which is part of why I'm here. But I think for me, what I learned from my spelling difficulties is kind of what a lot of dyslexic students struggle with, and that's poor self image, anxiety about spelling tests or reading tests or whatever it is their struggle is, and even for some depression.
Yeah.
Mental
Well,
health and dyslexia are really hand in hand. And there are so many studies that show students that struggle with dyslexia tend to struggle more with some mental health issues, as I did. I was a very anxious child. And I think it had a lot to do with my dyslexia.
so did that come from, did you know you were different? Even
Oh,
though
yeah.
nobody like
Oh,
told
yeah.
you, right? Nobody said you can't do this, but they
Yeah, they
can.
did.
Oh, they were that direct with you.
My third grade teacher, not in front of the class, but in front of my parents, said, and I was there in a
Like,
conference, said, you should get her into some kind of find out what her talents are, get her in some kind of a career path because she's never going to go to college and will be lucky if she graduates high school. And
wow.
not only did I graduate from
Oh,
college, I graduated on the dean's list and I got my master's with a 4.0. So she was wrong,
Oh,
But
does she
that's what
know
I was
she was
told.
wrong? Have you gone back to her and said,
I
excuse me?
wish I could have. I got to go back and tell some of my teachers, but this particular teacher was older and she passed away before I did this. I wish I could have.
Oh, the blessing in that was she motivated you.
She
She,
did. She
yeah,
did. I was angry. I remember
sure.
there's bits and pieces of my childhood I remember, and that is one I remember so clearly because I'm like, no, you're wrong. If I want to go to college, I'll go to college. And God blessed me with a fourth grade teacher that said, you are college material. You are smart. You are brilliant. You might need
Ugh.
some help, but you can do whatever you want. And that just totally changed the trajectory of my life.
I mean, what a testimony to the power of teachers' words.
Oh,
We have to
so
be
powerful.
so careful on what we say to our students, how we say it, and the impact. Here you are, an adult with a master's for how many years? I'm not even gonna, and that you still remember that so vividly.
I do. That is, you know how
Wild.
you have key moments of your childhood that you remember.
Yeah,
For me, that's one of the key moments I remember
for
is just
sure.
that moment of you can't do this. And I'm a redhead.
Yeah.
So my reaction to that is like, well, watch me. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, yes, it wound up being a blessing. But I
Yeah.
often wonder if I didn't have that fourth grade teacher that came behind me and said, yes, you can do this,
Yeah.
would I've gotten, would have I continued?
Well,
Teachers' words are so powerful. And I tell general ed teachers all the time kindly, please be careful what you say because they're hearing, they're listening.
yeah, even when it's not in front of the student, you say it to another teacher in the hallway, something, kids always listen.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
that fourth grade teacher, like you said, God put you there. So you don't even have to wonder what it would be like if that teacher wasn't there. She was there. God
Yes, she
wanted her
was.
there. He had a plan for you, and here you
Mhm.
are. So,
And I never thought about being a teacher really before that moment. But my
mhm,
fourth grade teacher, I'm like, you know what? I want to do that for other students.
sure.
I want to let them know that they can do this and they're not defined by their disability. It's just their
Yeah.
path.
Well, it's just a different way of learning. So,
Yeah. Oh, is it
okay,
ever?
so
As
your
a matter of
brain doesn't
fact,
work like your friends. Okay.
yeah.
You just like your friend might like praline ice cream and you like chocolate marshmallow. It's just a
Hmm.
difference,
Yes. And it's a difference that comes with advantages too,
Yeah.
because dyslexic people have superpowers.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about the superpowers.
Oh, I love the superpowers.
Yeah.
So you'd be shocked to know some of the people that have had dyslexia. It's really quite amazing. One of my favorites is Richard Branson,
Oh,
and he, started a company that's very successful. And he actually says his dyslexic superpower was being able to see things outside the box, and
yeah.
that's why he was successful. So he literally has quote after quote where he says, "Dyslexia was the best thing that ever happened to me." So for that, dyslexic students tend to be able to see outside the box. They
Think
don't solve
differently?
things like everyone else does. They're
Yeah.
able to solve things by kind of looking outside of what you would expect. An example of this for me is math. I have my own way of doing math. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of funny because sometimes it doesn't look like everyone else's, but I get the same answer.
Love that.
And I have found, with some of my students, my way makes more sense to them than their way. And teachers, I mean, I have great teachers here that are like, if you can show me how you do it and this is how you got the answer, then you're fine. You can do it that
Yeah.
way. So it's always that looking outside of the box. Dyslexic people tend to be very creative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Leonardo da Vinci and Pablo Picasso were both said to have had dyslexia, and they both, have very unique painting styles. They tend to be able to be creative. So our brains, the right side is more creative, the left side is more of the logical.
Right.
For whatever reason, God decided He's going to make dyslexic people who primarily use the right side of the brain for everything. So, because of that, our right side of the brain is very strong. It's like the
Yeah.
muscle that gets worked out all the time.
Sure. It's
Yeah.
being
So,
used.
yeah, and that leads to a lot of these superpowers, the creativity. Walt Disney was said to be dyslexic. And I mean, look at what
Mm.
he did.
That makes
It's
sense.
just
Yeah.
a lot of creativity, thinking outside the box. Our visual processing tends to be very strong, um, which also leads to dyslexic people need multisensory education in order to succeed. You cannot just stand up and lecture for them. They need to see it. They need to
Yeah.
feel it. They
Do
need
it.
to experience it.
Yeah.
It is multisensory is so important with dyslexic people because that's truly how they learn.
So if learning has to be multisensory, how do you, if you're reading a fourth grade passage that's 4 or 5 paragraphs, how do you incorporate multisensory into reading a 5 paragraph article?
Kind of depends what the article's about.
Okay.
I love with my students to do a lot of pre-reading activities. Any student I have that has any kind of reading disability, we will talk about prior knowledge. We will, say it's about sand. We'll look at sand. It also, for my younger peeps, if we're doing reading, I will often put it on the smart board. So it's
Yeah.
at a different area, different looks different. It's just getting creative. It's just figuring out, how you can make it multisensory.
Yeah. So activating that, like you said, that prior knowledge, maybe introducing
Activating
some
prior knowledge is
vocabulary.
huge with
Yeah.
dyslexic students, and that's where you can put the multisensory in. So then when they're reading, that's going to help. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that, or I remember we talked about that. And that's what they need, is just that little extra information.
So if they're struggling with decoding and they have a word that a sight words are difficult for people with dyslexia because they are words that have to be memorized. They don't follow any spelling rules, they don't
Right.
follow any patterns, anything. They're just words that have to be memorized. So if they come across a word that they don't it's not familiar to them and they struggle with pulling it apart, segmenting it into either letters depending on the level of it. It might be a earlier elementary word where they can just segment
Mm-hmm.
the letters, or maybe it's a later elementary where they're segmenting into consonants. Then what strategies can they have you experienced, or what you could suggest they could use that maybe you use with your students? How do you find out what that word is and then how it
Mm-hmm.
fits? I mean, it must slow them down a lot then.
It does, but it's heart words. So what I will do is I teach the students separately from decoding. We do heart words, and my heart words have hearts over the parts that don't work how we expect them to. I find when they, again, visual,
Okay.
when they
Okay.
have that visual of this is not the way that, this is not going to work the way we expect. This is a difference.
Okay.
Sometimes that's all they need, or a big part of helping them learn.
So for example, the word could, COULD.
Mm-hmm.
OU makes one, is supposed to make one sound, but in the word could it says and then
Yeah.
LD, the
Mm-hmm.
L is silent, so the LD doesn't work the way. So you would put
So
a heart over the OU and
the
then the
heart over
LD.
the OU and the heart over the L, yes. And that, for whatever reason, that really does seem to help a lot. And pre-teaching them, I make sure that if there is a reading coming up that has a word, sight word or a heart word that I don't think they know, I
Hmm.
always make the point of pre-teaching it, showing it to them ahead of time. With dyslexia, the more they see it, the more likely they're going to be to know it.
Yeah.
And when I'm teaching younger kids, talking about multisensory, when I teach younger kids sight words or heart words, I like to use, I got sandpaper letters we use. I've got, we might do it in shaving cream. Anything again that makes it multisensory, I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
You
that
put
is the
that in.
key.
Yeah.
Then if
Yeah.
there is nothing else a teacher walked away from this, it's use multisensory education for all your students that have reading issues.
So your heart words is a strategy. So kids
It's a
learn a
strategy, yes.
strategy. This is not a solution. It's not a skill
No,
that you're
and
teaching them.
nothing,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds, I mean this optimistically, not pessimistically, but
Okay.
the dyslexia is not going to go away.
Right.
I'm still very much dyslexic.
Yeah.
I still have an app on my phone that tells me how to spell things because there's still words I struggle with.
Okay, so what app is that? So people who are listening might say, okay, maybe we could use this for our students.
Oh,
What?
it's wonderful. And often my older, like middle school kids, I will suggest it. So it's called Spell and Pronounce. And
what does it look like? What does the app look like? So spell and pronounce.
can you
It
see
looks like
it?
it's blue.
It's blue and red. It has a blue microphone and a red
Oh, yeah.
speaker.
Yep.
And you just press start, and then you go to spell check, and then I press the microphone,
You
and
say
I
a
say
word,
microphone, and then it shows me how to spell
how to
microphone.
spell it. So you say the word into the app, and then the app shows you how to spell it. Nice.
And if I don't know for sure it's the right type of word, I can also get a definition to come up and show me that this is the definition.
So like so if it's a synonym or something,
correct.
you can make sure it's the
Yes,
correct
make sure I'm
synonym.
spelling it correctly.
Okay.
It is, and that's really another huge part of helping students with dyslexia, because it doesn't go away. I'd
Yeah.
love to tell you that hearts over a word or me, practicing spelling all the time is going to change anything. My brain still works primarily on the right side.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just how God made me. And
Yeah.
so I've had to find, and for my students as well, and it's not one size fits all. I wish it was.
Yeah.
You've got to find what works for that particular student. For me, like for spelling, the only way I can learn a new word is to write it and say it over and over. Like write it, say it as I write each letter. I'll do that. So one of my favorite dyslexic stories about me learning to spell is when I was 40 years old for my birthday. I wanted to learn to spell tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know why. There are certain words that I just cannot spell. It's like there's a block. And so for my 40th birthday, I probably 400 times I wrote and said out loud tomorrow. Now I can spell tomorrow.
That's great.
So that's what works for me. That is the only way I can learn to spell well. It's just, and it's difficult to do that for every word that I need to spell. So I've learned other ways of coping.
Yeah.
But I tried that with some of my other students and it didn't work. So it's like everything else. They're all unique. They're all different.
Yeah.
I've never seen one that multisensory doesn't help.
Yeah. So it's kind of a general strategy or approach to
probably my favorite
understand.
approach, or what I find to be the most successful. The other is it's technology.
Yeah. So before you said sandpaper letters, tell us about what sandpaper letters are.
I can show you.
Well, okay. All right. Listener, she ran off. She's getting some sandpaper letters.
I love sandpaper letters. So this is sandpaper.
The letter J. Yep. And it's a square.
And it literally, there's sandpaper on it.
Yep.
So when I'm teaching them J or the J sound, I have them
trace the letter as
and
they're
it seems so simple.
Yeah.
But I had a student in kindergarten a couple of years ago that he learned all his letters and sounds using this.
So for listeners, because they don't see that, so listeners, what we do is we record these on video and then we give them out to the public on audio. So for those of you who are listening, Rhonda showed us a sandpaper letter. It's a square and it's something you can purchase probably from a teaching resource. You could probably make
I got it on Amazon.
Yeah, you could probably make a sandpaper letter going to Home Depot and buying sandpaper and writing.
That's what I used to do,
the
but
letter.
Now they have these.
Yeah, so the letter is on the sandpaper. This particular one has a blue background and the letter J is in white. And so the student just traces their finger.
Lowercase.
And then, and that's also a vowel, lowercase o vowel is red. So I'm guessing the consonants are blue and the vowels are red, correct?
No, uppercase is blue, lowercase is red.
Oh, upper and lowercase. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why they did it that way. I would have actually liked it better for the vowels to be
vowels,
red.
Yeah, sure.
Blue, but I didn't make it.
And then shaving cream, like you said, that's just putting shaving cream on their desk and having them write the letters.
I'm telling you, not only do they love it, and do I not get the struggle of I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
It does work. It's just sand using. I have a bunch of little containers, like not Rubbermaid, but like like 1 foot by 2 feet container that has colored sand in it. we'll write them in sand.
Yeah.
It's not only does it make it more entertaining and enjoyable, but it also helps them remember. It just does. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's that right brain creative thing or what,
Yeah.
but it really does make a big difference.
So do you use those for older kids too, or do you use it primarily for the,
Primarily for younger,
yeah.
older kids, I don't use them as often. I have had ones that really are struggling with a word that we've tried that,
Yeah. And it
like
works.
on a specific word. But
Yeah.
usually by the time they're older, this is primarily helps with learning letters and sounds.
Okay. So the letters
And most
sound
of the
right.
older students have that by then. But I
Yeah.
have, like I said, I have on occasions when I've really just been kind of like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I have made like the word out of the sandpaper and had them feel
Yeah.
it.
And the letter sound recognition or and the letter sound correlation is like the base, the very basic part of reading. You have to know your letters, you have to know the
Yes.
sounds they make, and you have to know how they go together. So
Mhm.
that's the very first step to making
Mhm.
this to build
And
on.
I just
Making
find
that.
that any student I have that struggles with reading at all or spelling, that it tends to help. It's that, like I said, multisensory.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
preach that because it just does really make a
Yeah.
difference.
So do you find because it sounds like there's a lot of memorization involved, memorizing sight words, which everyone has to memorize sight words, but then
Mhm.
also words that for those of us without dyslexia, we can segment, we can break apart in the syllables, we can,
Mhm.
there's all kinds of different strategies that our brains are using. But for people with dyslexia, it just sounds like every word you have to memorize. So
Not
no,
really. I mean,
no.
I do always teach. I am big into phonics. I've had the blessing of going through letters training recently, and
Oh, letters is nice. Yeah.
it totally, like, if you went around my room, it's all, my mouth shapes and different, fricatives and all these things that help my students. It really does, because they can learn phonics. It might not be as natural, it might take a little more time, but they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
It's the memorizing is really the heart words, because for whatever reason those are a particular challenge.
Yeah. Have you used Orton Gillingham for any of your dyslexia approaches?
Yeah, science of reading and Orton Gillingham are quite similar.
Okay.
I tend to subscribe more to the science of reading because I've had more training.
Okay.
It's just been, for whatever reason, the schools I've been at, the training we've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I understand it, it's very similar.
hmm So Orton Gillingham, one of their big pushes is syllabification. So
Mhm.
pulling apart words at the syllable level. Is that what you're doing
Yes,
in science of reading as
we do
well?
that.
hmm
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have candy bars on my wall of that, because every syllable type has a candy bar that goes with it,
Yeah.
and that's how again, anything to be creative gets their
Yeah.
minds going. So I have
One of our,
syllabification on my wall in my classroom at all
yeah.
times, because yes, very much so. It's kind of like the next step after we get the basic decoding, you know, sounds into words, then we kind of go into the syllabification, because that's how they are able to read longer words.
Right. Yeah.
As
You
the
have to
words
know where
get
to split it.
longer, a lot of,
Yeah.
and really for dyslexic students, syllabification is very important, because they can handle it in small parts. But if
hmm
they try to do the whole word, the automaticity that isn't as quick, or doesn't come as quick. So learning those syllable types is so important.
So
I
you're also
really push
teaching
that.
where to split the word into syllables,
Oh
how
yeah.
how that works.
Yes. And the six different types of syllables, seven if you use oh, what's it called? Schwa.
Oh, schwa. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's a lot of, I would say for dyslexic students, it's even more important to be very methodical in
Yeah.
how you do it, to have kind of a starting point and then just to build on that.
hmm
I want to mention UFly is a great resource. I go back to it quite a bit. I don't
hmm
use a lot of their like actual worksheets, but they have a great scope and sequence,
Okay.
and being able to go there and say, okay, this is where my student is. This is where I want to go. Okay, I think I'm in a roadmap. I kind of make a roadmap of how I want to get there.
Are,
And
go ahead.
yeah, and I
Are,
just find that helps me kind of know, okay, we just learned a sound, so now what should I do next? And it
Yeah.
keeps you from doing similar sounds at the same time. It's a nice resource, so I don't have to remember everything.
Right. It's kind of laid out for you.
Yes,
Are their materials still free on their website, the
yes,
UFly
they are
website?
absolutely free.
Yeah, it's the University of Florida, for those of you who
Yes.
are the acronym is UFly.
And it's Toolbox to get the resources.
Yeah.
Took me a while to figure that out because I couldn't find
Oh.
the resources.
Yeah, that UFly is great. There's some really good stuff in there. And
It
you
is,
know,
and
yeah,
I just think there's so scope and sequence of how to teach letters and phonics is really spot on,
yeah,
and I found it to be very accurate and helpful.
yeah. So one of our other teachers in Wisconsin, she uses the candy bar stuff
Yes,
approach to.
it's fun.
So
And that's the
give an
other thing. It's
example
got
of
to be
one.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Learning is hard for students with any disability.
Yes.
So if you make it fun, I do a lot of game-based things. If you make
Yeah,
it fun, they're going to be more excited about learning. They're going to be
yeah,
more open to learning because a lot of these kids feel like they've been hitting their head against the wall for a long time.
yeah.
It,
Well, I think it stays in their brain longer too. It connects when they're having
it
fun,
does.
you
It
know,
does very
as
much
opposed to
so.
just being lectured. So give
Well,
us an
it's
example.
multisensory as well. If we're playing
Sure.
games,
Yeah,
we've got a lot more senses going on, and they tend to
absolutely.
be more engaged.
Yep.
I do a lot of game-based learning, and
Yeah.
it works. And candy bars are a lot more fun than just calling them what they are.
Yeah. So give us an example of the candy bar.
So we have closed syllable is Kit Kat, K-A-T, it's closed, so it's a short A. K-I-T, it's closed, so it's a short I.
Mhm. Vowel,
Uh,
consonant, vowel, close. There's not a vowel at
yes.
the end. Yeah. Hmm.
Open is Rolo, because you have the R-O, which makes it a long O, the L-O, which makes it a long O. You have the
Hmm.
silent E is Mike and Ike.
Yeah. Silent E, magic E. Yep.
Vowel team is Reese's.
Oh, Reese is
R
R-E-E. Yep. The vowel
E
team
E. Yep.
long. First
Our
vowel
control
talks.
is Starburst.
Which one is that?
Starburst is our control vowels.
Our
Bossy
control.
R. I like Bossy R better. And the
Frosty R, is that what you said?
Bossy.
Bossy. Okay.
Bossy.
Glad I
I'm a
asked.
redhead, I'm bossy, so I like Bossy. And then the consonant followed by LE is Skittles.
Skittles. Yeah. Very good.
They love it. And they can tell you, like my
Yeah.
students will tell you what the candy bar is. And I'm like, okay, well then look at it and figure out what it is we're breaking it apart as. And it again, multisensory, making it fun, not making learning a chore because it's always a chore for them in the classroom. So let's make
Yeah.
it lighter and easier when you're in the resource room.
Yeah. That's great. That's fantastic.
I do love what I do.
I can tell. You're so
I love what
excited.
I
You
do.
have so many resources too that you've already talked about. So,
I've been doing this long enough that I have quite a few resources, and I'm always looking for new resources.
yeah.
I love going to trainings. I love finding new resources
Yeah.
because I have students that I'm struggling with to find what that piece is.
Mhm.
I feel like it's on me to figure out what that piece is.
Yeah.
This general
Well,
ed teacher doesn't have time to figure it out, and I have the resources and the understanding, so I'm constantly trying to figure out how to reach the children.
sure, that's your area of expertise. That's
Right.
that's where you're landing every single day.
Correct.
Right. And then sharing that knowledge with the gen ed teachers. Do you feel, in your experience, do you think that more students have dyslexia than are being diagnosed?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I really don't understand this new generation of parents that don't want their students labeled.
Mm.
My label was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that label, I would not have succeeded the way that I have.
Mm-hmm. You got the help you needed, right?
Yeah, well, got
Because
the
of the
help I
label.
needed, it's just, and even understanding myself to find out, no, it's not just that you're dumb.
Yeah.
You really have a disability. You learn different.
Your
And
brain is
in a
made
lot of
differently.
ways,
Yeah.
I taught myself how to learn. I look back and I'm thinking, I really kind of did some of these things. Like I would talk into a tape recorder when I was studying, and then I would listen to it and follow along. No one taught me that. I just was looking for ways to teach myself and to
Mm.
succeed myself.
Yeah.
Which I think got me into the mindset of being a special ed teacher because I already was kind of doing that for myself, finding
Right.
accommodations myself, because I don't know that they were as knowledgeable as we are now. So that I struggle with. Is there's students I know have at least a reading disability, if not dyslexia, that, for whatever reason, they're afraid of the label. And I keep telling them it's a great thing. The label opens up a world. So that is one struggle that I find. The other one is students that are okay, they can fake it.
Mm.
And so they're not caught. And then I fear that when they get into more and more challenging coursework, that it's going to rear its ugly head. And I think that's why I actually, when I was doing some research, there's a fair number of people that get diagnosed with dyslexia in
Later. Yeah.
high school, in college, even in adulthood. So, yeah, that people get diagnosed later in life, I think because they were able to just fake it just enough through school.
To hide it. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So when I do professional developments, and specifically around dyslexia and reading disabilities, there is a passage from an excerpt. I was just looking this up called Journey into the DNA. And I don't know if you've seen this, but it's a reference to people who don't have dyslexia to they changed the paragraph from our traditional, regular words and writing, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
paragraph about DNA and the coding and our bodies, how it uses DNA, things like that. But it changes it into the different letters that people with dyslexia see. So, for example, when people without dyslexia see the letter Q, people with dyslexia pronounce it as D or T. The
Mm-hmm.
C becomes an M. The B and the
Mm-hmm.
P, that whole thing gets switched. And then YS becomes ER. Have you, first of all, have you seen that? And then second, is that what you're experiencing? Is that what you're, as,
Yes, but it was certain letters,
yeah,
definitely. And I don't know about all dyslexic people, but I also sometimes will have a perception issue. Like I will often re-ask someone if I don't know that I perceived it right. Sometimes I think I even hear things a little
yeah,
not quite how they were.
yeah.
For me, I was the classic D and B switcher.
Oh, yeah. But
I mean,
that's not always the main key, right? I mean, I think that's
no.
important.
As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, till third grade, I don't. All kids reverse. We're,
yeah,
we're not even concerned with it until they get into third grade.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I still have to stop and think. Bed, like I
yeah.
am old enough, I should know, and I still have to sometimes stop and think.
Well, so
Was and
great.
saw is a huge one. I cannot tell you how many of my dyslexic kids will read saw as was and was as saw.
Right. Right. It's
That's
it's the same word, but flipping the
flipping it completely.
order
I
of the
had
letters.
one
Yeah.
write their name completely backwards.
Yeah.
And I
And
was
how
like,
old was that
oh,
student?
that takes talent. Hmm?
How old was that student?
Fourth grade.
Yeah. So yeah, for people who are listening, like some of these things are common in younger ages, but once it
Hmm.
gets to be past, usually about third grade, like you said, and when it's consistent and
Hmm.
when it's like a surprise to the child that they're seeing it
Yes.
wrong, then I think red flags should be popping up pretty strong.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like,
And
whoa, something needs
I
to be.
have a lot of parents, first, second grade, like, oh, my child's doing this, my child's doing that. I'm like, it's age appropriate right now. If
Yeah.
they're doing it in third, fourth grade, then we're gonna trust me, we'll look into it further.
Yeah.
But yes,
But in the meantime, they're learning the strategies to differentiate B and D and was and saw and all,
the
write their
best
name
one is
before
bed.
the
Make a
bed.
bed
Yeah.
and BED. And that's
Yeah.
what I use. It's what I teach my kids. There's 100 other ones, but I just find that one's that makes the most sense to the most
Yeah. Bed
people.
is your thumbs up,
Mm-hmm.
both left hand and right hand thumbs up, and then making like a fist and then putting your knuckles together. And it looks like your fist and your thumb looks like a
Mm-hmm.
B from your perspective, looking at your hands when your
Mm-hmm.
fingers are together, your fists are together. And then the D actually looks like a D um,
Mm-hmm.
when your
It
fist,
almost looks like a bed too.
and
So
then
it's
it
it's
looks like a bed. Yeah, because there's a flat spot across your two
yeah.
hands.
I just
Yeah.
find that a lot of my kids, I actually had a mom just this week say to me, "Thank you for teaching her that. She loves
Yeah,
it." And I'm
that's
like, "Good,
great.
I'm glad." But
Yeah.
again, one size fits all is not the case ever. So there's
Right.
other ones you can try if that doesn't work.
Well, since there's 9 kinds of dyslexia, there's
Yes,
no way that it could be one size fits all. There's
correct.
different reasons for that left side shutting
Hmm.
down and not working, and that right side going, no, 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 we need to be creative here. And
Hmm.
when you need the logic and the left side, the logic behind it. So once children get into that fourth or so grade level and they're continuing to display these errors, they're messing
Hmm.
up their reversing letters, they're transposing letters. And as an expert,
Hmm.
you're seeing this happen and the gen ed teacher is saying things. What are the steps? What do we do to address these issues and deal with them in the classroom?
Okay. Well, it's kind of a multi-step process. They usually
Okay.
come to me and I will give them some resources, some things for them to try to do that tier 2 intervention,
Okay.
um, or that we can make sure that they've gotten that extra help in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Yeah.
If that does not seem to be showing improvement, that is where I will start coming in, and might either do intervention. Like the ideal world, I go in and I do intervention with the student.
Okay.
When I have a lot of students like I do now, it tends to be more giving the teachers the resources to be able to do it.
Okay.
I give them what they need. I show them how to use it, and then they kind of keep me informed. Once we've done plenty of intervention, that I can basically, I always explain it to the parents like this: when I go to the school district and I say to them, "This student, I believe, needs to be assessed," it's almost like a lawyer. I have to kind of prove it to them. I have to kind of
Sure.
explain it to them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure we do these in steps, because I have never had a student turned down to be assessed, because I always have my ducks in a row. I
Yeah.
turn it in and we've tried this, this was the result. Um, and so now we're concerned and we would like to have them assessed. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the process it goes through, is intervention, like in class intervention, outside class intervention. And then that's where I have enough data that I can share it with the school district and say, I would like to have this student assessed.
How long are you running that data for?
Usually around 6 months is ideal.
Months. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
well, what I have found is the whole process is about 6 months,
Okay.
I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not very
Gotcha.
well. Um, I find that it takes about 6 months to go through the whole process.
I
To
see.
I'm
Yeah.
talking
No, I
right through
misunderstood. You
assess.
did a great job. No, I misunderstood. So that makes
So
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a 6 month process total.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
the school district has a month just to assess and meet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of prepare the parents that might be questioning that it can be up to like a 6 month process. They want
Yeah.
about 3 months worth of data. Then we have to get all the paperwork and parents on board and everything else.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the school district, and then it's a month later that we meet. So the whole process tends to be about 6 months. I would
Well,
say
and
data about 3 months
yeah.
is ideal for me. Some we do it kind of in 6 week, 4 to 6 week increments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we're seeing progress,
Yeah.
then we'll continue. If
Yeah.
we're not seeing progress, then we might try something else, or
Yeah.
that might be when I step in and do intervention, or at least foster the intervention, kind of lead it. And
Yeah.
then that's if that doesn't work, it's kind of like that tier 2, tier 3, and
Yeah.
then okay, yeah, we have an issue. We really need to have this
Yeah.
assessed.
Maybe you're increasing the intensity. Yeah.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
how have you seen the teachers using? So you said that before that you're giving sometimes you give the classroom teachers some of the interventions. How
Yes.
are you seeing them implement that in their classrooms? What are they doing with?
It was a slow go at first.
Yeah.
It was something that they weren't necessarily used to, but I have actually found some of the teachers are enjoying it. And they're
No.
like, oh, wow, now you know, I see it quicker. I notice things quicker. Um, I know more how to differentiate because I'm actually working with them.
Okay.
Some, you know, maybe not as excited about it,
Yeah.
but thankfully I've gotten most everyone on board. Right down to we do Arcadians testing,
Yeah.
and I K through third, and
Okay.
I used to give it to the teachers. Well, my case level got to the point where I was like, I'm having trouble doing this.
Yeah.
So I handed it off to the teachers, and thankfully some of them like it because they feel like they're seeing things quicker.
Yeah. They've got that data right then and there, and they say,
Yes.
"Oh, this is the
So,
result of that."
yes.
Use it.
So
Mhm.
that's been kind of exciting. It's been a slow process turning some of this stuff over to the teachers.
Yeah.
But now I have several that are actually liking it. So that's kind of
Great.
exciting.
So are you seeing them use it as far as in differentiation versus intervention groups, like small groups,
Intervention
flexible
groups is what I
groupings?
encourage. I
Yeah.
mean, differentiation is great, but if you have a student that you think might have a disability, it's intervention that's going to tell us, okay, it's just lack of instruction or maybe not getting the instruction the way they need it versus, yeah, there's a disability here.
Yeah.
So I pretty much encourage strongly intervention groups. And
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to have a leadership at this school that respects my knowledge. And that's actually hard for me to say. I'm not usually one that toots my own horn, but they do. I mean, they respect what I say, they listen to what I say, and so they have my back.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've been able to implement some really positive changes here, which might be part of the reason I have so many students because we're finding them
Yeah.
and we're finding them quicker
Yeah.
and we're finding, it's been a positive.
Well, and you've built that trust and that expertise, and the
And it
people
took time
on your
and it
team.
does.
Sure, of course, always does, yeah. But the people on your team recognize it now, and kids are
Yes.
getting the support that they need. Um, Let's talk about screeners. I get asked that a lot. There's a lot of states that are coming out with new legislation saying that students need to be screened every year. Some states
Mm-hmm.
have already implemented that. Some states are implementing it in the next year, just 1 to 3 years. What kind of screeners are you using, or others that you have not used but have heard of that, boy,
Yeah.
that could be probably a good one. Maybe we should look into that. What do you
There
see
are
there?
specific dyslexic screeners. I myself have never used those particularly, more because I'm going at this from a reading, like most of my students will be assessed by Michigan um, school psychologists whom will only look for reading disabilities.
Okay.
So if it makes sense, I'm kind of going about it for a reading disability than I am for dyslexia for that reason. I can kind of tell you if they have dyslexia or not just because I lived it.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm
that I
looking
think
at it. So, but as far as screeners we use, Arcadians is huge.
so,
It is
Cadians.
such a
Cadians.
great way to
Mhm.
see at a very young age if we have students that need intervention.
Yeah.
It's simple. Like NWAs are great and all, but if you have an ADD student or a student that had a headache that day, or had something happen at recess, they don't do as well. So it's
Right.
very difficult to look at it and say, okay, this child needs intervention.
It's such a
But
snapshot in that one
yeah,
moment. Yeah.
but if you Arcadians is a reading, they read it to you. They either know words or they don't. They're either
Yeah.
able to tell you what the story is about or they don't. It's very straightforward. It's quick. It takes like 5 minutes
Yeah.
and you get a fairly accurate shot. So I'm a huge advocate of Acadian's testing being kind of the number one kind of reading test.
Hmm.
Easy CBM has a phenomenal kind of a quick snapshot, but theirs is more in depth and takes longer.
Okay.
And I find that teachers are not as willing to do that. Now, I use it once I have a student to help me with progress monitoring. It's fabulous for that.
Okay. An
But I
easy
find
CB.
teachers prefer the Acadians for a quick snapshot kind of reading, looking at reading.
So Easy CBM has Easy CBM free, and then they've got the paid version. And
Yes, I use
the
free
the
because I'm
screener
cheap.
can be found in the free section.
It's the only thing you can't do in free is have the data online.
Yeah, but you okay.
Besides that, I just, you can keep the data yourself. I've
Yeah.
used both. I've
Okay.
had both.
Okay.
It's just it's easier to progress monitor if you can just put it in the computer, but I'm used to teaching before there were computers, at
Yeah, pen
least,
and paper. Yeah,
so I don't mind
binders.
paper
Yeah,
stuff. I
3 hole
really don't.
punches. Yeah.
That's how I've always progress monitored, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Some extra things that I really love and would love to share is the PAST.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that's phonological. That is more of a hearing and speaking. But it also, again, with the different types of dyslexia, this is a great screener to know, are they hearing it correctly?
Yeah.
What the past is I might say something like cowboy, say cowboy. And then I'll say, okay, say cowboy without the cow. And they're supposed to say boy. Some students will have no idea what to say.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
will say cow. Some will, it's a great way of seeing how their phonological processing is going, and if that
Yeah.
is could be the problem, because you're going to deal with that very differently than if it's pure phonetics or phonics issue.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
past
That's
is
a good
always the
point.
first one I usually do because
Yeah.
that knocks something out of the way right away. If they can do it, it's like, okay, fine, we're good. If they can't, that's where you just do a lot of practice with the actual phonology part, the
Mm.
listening and speaking part.
Right. Right. Right.
The next one that I because I went through the letters training, they have two different types of screeners I love, love, love for my dyslexic students.
Ooh,
One of
that
them
sounds
is
exciting.
pure, yeah, one of them is pure phonetics. It's
Okay.
literally it breaks it down by syllable types and everything, where we go through and they read what they can read. And it starts with just recognizing their ABCs. It ends with multisyllabic words that
Wow.
are complex. And you just kind of have them work on it until they get to a point where they just are struggling. And that's where you stop. And then I believe you should go one step higher from where they struggle because you want them to start with success.
Yeah.
It really helps self-image if you start with something you can succeed in.
Sure. Makes sense.
So I
Yeah.
try to go
Absolutely.
one up, and then I do from there, I kind of make my roadmap according to scope and sequence, how we're going to get to where we need to be. Love
Okay.
it. It gives you great data, and it's again quick. They also have, which excites me because there's not a lot of this that I found, a spelling screener. As
Oh,
someone
is
who
that in
struggles with
letters?
spelling,
Is that in letters or is that something separate?
letters, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Great.
Lexia.
Okay.
It's it's a letters screener, and it just gives you spelling words, and it literally can tell you they're struggling with vowel teams. They're struggling with R controlled vowels. They're struggling with, kind of where they're at, where the first area that they don't know how to spell.
Yeah.
So I just think these are great ways to not necessarily say, oh, this child has dyslexia, but to say, okay, they have a reading disability of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we need to start. And then just roadmap, scope and sequence from there.
Right. Yeah. Have you heard of Words Their Way?
I have. I actually used Words Their Way when I student taught many
Yeah.
years ago. So it's been around a while.
How does that compare to the letter spelling screener?
Um, it's similar.
Yeah,
It
it sounds very
is.
similar. So I've used Words Their Way. I've not used letter spelling screener, but I always used Words Their Way to find out what part of the word is the
Yeah.
student, like where are they getting stuck? What do they
Mhm.
know at, all of the pieces that they know up until like, stop, can't do this anymore. This
Yes.
is, so we back up and we build on what they know to get over that hump, hopefully,
Correct.
through interventions. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Words Their Way. I've not used it in a while. It's been a while, but yes,
yeah.
I did use that many years ago, and it
Yeah.
is. I still like it. It just because the letters training is
Letters, yeah,
recent, this is
yeah,
kind of my new kind of
yeah.
passion.
And letters is research-based, words are way is research-based, past obviously is norm referenced, so easy CBM, all of that. Everything you mentioned is all research-based and or norm
I'm pretty
referenced. So
picky about what I use.
yeah. Well, yeah, when you get something that you feel confident with, that's
Right.
what
And
you
I think
use.
that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I've run with this Acadian or the letters is because it's kind of my new, I'm just really excited about it.
Your new magic trick, the
Yes.
biggest the
Yes.
biggest tool in your toolbox.
Yes. I love tools.
Yeah.
That's why I like going to seminars and doing things so much because,
Yeah.
and it's why I still research dyslexia because sometimes that research helps me both
Yeah.
as a teacher, but also as someone who has dyslexia.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um,
You do
what
know that October is Dyslexic Awareness Month.
I did not know that. Well, happy
Yes, it
dyslexia to
is.
you. Happy
Yep,
dyslexia month to you.
it is. It is the Dyslexia Awareness Month in October. So,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
yeah.
awesome. I'm gonna write that down. We should do something about that. Yeah.
Dyslexia party.
Yeah, something like that. So you have made you're like the I don't know, like the little spokesperson for dyslexia. I mean, you've overcome it. You got diagnosed as your mom fought hard for you.
She
You ended up
did. I
getting
am so
diagnosed.
grateful. My mom is the hero of the story.
Yeah.
She knew something was wrong and she admitted it was hard to go against all these educated people as this she grew up on a farm. I mean,
Yeah.
she was just a farm family girl, you know, and a stay-home mom and but she fought for me and that made all the difference in the world because who knows what if or when I would have gotten diagnosed otherwise.
Yeah.
I
What
got
a
pretty good
great.
at hiding it, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I that she is a hero. And you know, if I speak to parents, I would say if your gut says something's wrong, fight.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing that can happen is your child's fine and you
Yeah.
know they're fine.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing. I am a big advocate of parents. It's okay to fight for your kids. That's what we're here
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, for sure. The mental health aspect too, going back to that for a brief moment, with teachers and you choosing our words carefully and talking with students who have
Yes.
not just dyslexia, but any kind of a learning difference.
Correct.
When I was in the classroom, I believed in teaching children to self-advocate and owning
Yes.
their disability, not as a negative, but as I never used the word superpower, but I do like that. I used it as
Yes.
you learn differently. And man, that is
Mhm.
cool because who wants to all be the same? Let's
Correct.
really take that and run with it. So, what are
All my
some,
students know that they have superpowers because even those with math disabilities
yeah,
or whatever they might be facing, anxiety, whatever, their brain's different, they work
yeah,
different, and they have strengths that are their superpowers. And I
yeah,
try to work with my students to find those.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we really,
But
really
self
work,
advocate, being able to self advocate is huge. We
yeah.
talk about in my class, we talk about our disabilities. We
Hmm.
talk about how it affects us. We talk about how we can, you know, tell teachers what we need or
Yeah.
request something. I'm big into self advocating. I'm also big into no learned helplessness.
Right.
You got a
Absolutely.
disability, that's fine, but you can still do everything
Not an
you can.
excuse. Yeah.
It's not an excuse at
Yeah.
all. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's something we as special ed teachers especially have to be careful of is
Yeah.
that learned helplessness piece.
Well, and with dyslexia being something that's lifelong, kids who
Mm-hmm.
are older, high school, like we said before, the high school moving into possible post-secondary, not only do they need to take ownership for it, learn how to speak about it, advocate
Mm-hmm.
for themselves for it, but also carry that into either their secondary education or their workplace and what that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. Here's my accommodation plan, or in some
Mm-hmm.
schools it's a 504 when they get to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
In private schools, it should be an accommodation plan. And then once they start moving into college, to switch it to a 504 because that's a whole legal thing. And they have
Mm-hmm.
rights. They have rights to having the supports and the accommodations that they
Mm-hmm.
need um,
I would
to
say in
be
post-secondary, it's
successful.
one of the reasons that, and in career is one of the reasons I'm so big on self-advocating.
Yeah.
When you're in college, your mom can't call the professor and tell them, well, they
Yeah.
have this accommodation. They have to
Yeah.
be able to express it themselves and
Yeah.
do it, in a way that competently and maturely. And that's what I pray, my students get from working with me through the years, is being ready to do that self-advocating, because there's a point where parents can't do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a self-advocating in a positive, self-supportive way, not a
Correct.
demand. I have this and I get this. It's like,
That's kind of learned helplessness too.
that is
I mean,
true.
to
Yeah.
me, that's kind of
Yeah.
going on that edge, and that is my pet peeve. I
Mm-hmm.
truly, when I see students that you want to use their disability to get out of things, I'm like, no, it might look different, but we're going to do the same
Yeah.
things.
Such a fine line and such a
It
careful thing
is. It is
to
a
have to walk.
constant fine line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
But
I'm
to
not, I'm
have
gonna
those,
lie. I'm not gonna lie. I cross that line one way or the other sometimes, but that's when you go, okay, let's try
yeah.
this.
Yeah. Let's come back
I
over
always tell
here.
my students, failure is not a bad thing, because if you
Right.
learn. And I I have to give myself some grace sometimes and say failure isn't an option, or is an option if I learn.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what that fine line is.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, we are in school because we're set up to fail so we can learn and move
Correct.
forward. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Failure is not a bad word, and so many
No.
times to so many students it is.
As long as you're learning from it, moving forward.
Yes,
Yeah, for
mistakes are
sure.
good. Let's
For
make them
sure.
loudly.
Yeah. Well, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, we haven't talked about, Rhonda. I think that's a great note to end on. But what else?
Perfect.
Is there anything else that you want to say that we haven't already said?
No, just dyslexia can be a gift.
Yeah.
Any learning disability is a gift. It's how God made you. Now
Yeah.
let's figure out how to thrive with.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd like to end on.
Perfectly well said. Thank you so much. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
your time. I know I took time out of your day and I appreciate you sharing it with us. And um,
It was
I
fun.
all your positiveness, Rhonda. It's a wonderful thing to have,
Thank
and we're
you.
blessed to have you here at LSEM and have you around. So thank
I'm
you for
blessed to be with
everything.
LSEM.
Oh, thank you.
Best job I've ever had.
That's awesome. I agree. All right, Rhonda, I will talk with you soon. And
Yep.
thank you all for listening. This has been the Lutheran Education Podcast. We hope you all have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening. We'll meet you again in 2 weeks for the Lutheran Education Podcast. For more information about LSEM, go to our website at luthsped.org. You can follow us on X by going to www.x.com/LSEM1873 or on Facebook at facebook.com/LSEM1873. If you're on Instagram, you can find us by going to @LSEM1873. We'll meet you again in 2 weeks for the Lutheran Education Podcast. Did you enjoy today's podcast? Want to help get the word out? Please leave us a review on the app you're using to listen today.